All right. Questions? Stacy?
Okay, this was just, it was very cerebral and very thrilling and suspenseful and just filmed beautifully. Obviously, the team you had was amazing to work with. My question is, what led her to this point in her life and these flashbacks of this very upper middle class house? Is that a dream that she has, or is that her past?
I love this because this has been something that, depending on who we talk to, it's always the question, and everyone sort of takes something differently from that. So in the book, this is based on a book by Ruth Gaume. In the book, there was this one scene that was not originally in the short script that Emily Summers had written. She wrote a feature version of this script and then a short version as a proof of concept. There was this one scene in the book that really stuck with me personally, where she's standing in front of a house in the valley, and she's imagining what her life would have been if she had gone the traditional route of what everyone is telling her she should do, which is get married, have kids, forget about your, she's a law secretary in the book. Of course, this is all background that you can't stuff into a 22-minute short. But that scene was very surreal in the book and just very eerie. She's like standing in broad daylight in front of this person's house. The person is inside the house, and she's just sort of envisioning what her life could be. And it was something that I really wanted to somehow translate into the short. And it was something that we ran out of time to do on the original production up in Sacramento Valley. And it still stuck with me, and I was like, I want this in the story. And so we were able to shoot it locally where we're from in LA. But it was always, it was meant to toe that line of like, is this her idea of an ideal life? And I think at the end, it's like when you see that look on her face where she's just really trying to be a part of the neighborhood and, you know, hi, hello, Helen, great to see you, to, fuck, this is not what I want. And what does she want? She doesn't know yet. And so that's really what those little flashes signify. But if someone else thinks that it's a dream or it's a flashback, it's very interesting to me as a director to sort of see how that changes how people are, what people are taking away from the story.
I guess I just want to know what led her to this point in her life.
And that I also love. This is not going to be a satisfying answer for you at all, but that is something that is in the feature script. Again, this is a proof of concept. So my job as a director was to deliver a proof of concept that makes people want to know more about this woman's story. And I could give it away, but I think maybe we'll just...
Save it when you come back.
Yeah.
Save it when you come back.
Everyone has lots of money and wants to, you know, finance
That's
our
why-
future. You'll
Say-
find out.
Say that again a little louder.
Money.
All
I
right.
need lots and lots of money. But yes, thank you. I'm glad that you've asked that question. I appreciate it.
What town did you film that in?
So this was filmed in many of the locations that are in the book, in Sacramento Valley, out in the Delta Bayou area. There was Isleton, Locke, GJ, this is my associate producer down here, and he's too shy to
Burbank.
walk here. Yes, Burbank was the dream house. Lots of just little towns in the Sacramento Valley that are actually in the book. We tried really hard to stay true to what was actually in the book, because that's one of the reasons why Emily Summers wanted to option the rights to the book. Was she grew up in the Bay Area, she had driven through a lot of these areas when she was younger, and so that's what resonated with her. And when you go up to those areas, which I've lived in California for 15 years, I had no idea these locations existed. And you were basically stepping back into time. Of course, we had a great production designer and art director, but honestly, those locations sold it. So it was very helpful.
What's the hardest part about filming a period piece like that?
This is always a tough question because there was a lot of difficult parts. Obviously, wardrobe is really important. The cars actually were, I'd say, probably the cars were the hardest thing, and we didn't get the cars until sort of the last minute in pre-production. We were trying to source them from maybe a car club up in Sacramento Valley. That was sort of our first inkling. Couldn't find anything. And then Emily Summers had a contact that she had worked with. His name is Daniel Wu. He's on Westworld with her. And he was like, hey, I know a guy in Sacramento, Anderson Automotive. Maybe you can talk to him. Maybe he has some old clients that have cars. That's where we got the blue Mustang. It was a sweet little old lady who had this Mustang. And that was sort of the missing component, because it was a blue Mustang in the novel, and there was a blue Mustang. The only caveat with that is that it showed up to set, and she hadn't driven it for years, and it was really loud, which we decided to do live sound on it. Really loud. TJ had it up on ramps the first day of filming. It had no gear oil, and it was about to blow up. So thanks to TJ, he fixed the Mustang on day one of filming, and we were able to carry it through for production. And then the other cars in the production, the one in Burbank was also TJ's friend who owns a house and is the owner of Hollywood Hot Rods. He helped us with that car and house. And then the other little supplement cars were people in that area that we had just sort of found through Anderson Automotive. So I think the cars were the hardest part, among many things.
Bart.
Yeah, the young woman who came in the car, you know, you can kind of look at, I kind of looked at that as an antagonist figure, but, you know, like almost like an apparition in some way, like to torment her for bringing out her own demons or something. I don't know, I'm just kind of thinking out loud, but was there any?
Yeah, she was very much the foil to be Beverly, the main character. And again, in the book and in the feature, it's very much more fleshed out as far as what I really love about the hippie girl is she comes in, she's so confident in her beliefs, she's so young, she doesn't know anything. She's just kind of regurgitating things from like the Summer of Love that she's seeing, because this is 1967. And she comes in and sort of pokes, she just needles Bee a lot and makes her sort of reconsider Bee's traditional mindset and what she's comfortable with. She's grown up in that very traditionalist household. Then the hippies come in, and she doesn't know where she lands. And what's really lovely in the book is that she doesn't change. Bee really doesn't change, even though she has this force with the hippie coming in. She tries it, and then she's like, ugh, this is not for me. But she still doesn't really work in the traditionalist viewpoints as well. So it's sort of a weird and lovely relationship between the two of them. It's almost a mother-daughter relationship at times. And what was great about the short was I was hoping that you're like, oh, is she gonna go back? Is she gonna go back and save the little girl that she's left on the street? No, she doesn't learn a thing. She's just like, this is not gonna end well for her, and then hopefully the rest of you are like, well, what's gonna happen to her?
Beautiful work. Can you talk about your process working with the author who turned it into, not only a feature script but proof of concept? And did they like kind of your first director's cut? How do they feel about this?
Ruth is absolutely lovely. Her name is Ruth Golm. She's a San Jose native, and she's been on this journey with Emily Summers since about 2017. So Emily Summers, who, by the way, wishes she could be here, but unfortunately she's not. She's dealing with health issues. She went through Ruth's, I think it's like Gotham Press, but it's also Soho Press. So she's been dealing with two different publishing companies. She had to pay for the rights, and then every year she's had to renew those. And one of the things was, how long the short could be. We were capped at a certain amount for the short. It couldn't make any money whatsoever. It had to be used as a proof of concept for the feature. So there was a lot of stipulations within the contract that Emily had to sort out and continues to sort out every year when she has to renew it. And her and Ruth worked really closely together on the feature script. And Ruth has been incredibly lovely as far as an author goes, because she knew that there was going to be things that needed to be changed to make it work as a film. And so she was very open to interpretation and like, you know, just changing what needed to be changed. And she's been a part of the production the entire way. When I was brought on in 2021, I met Ruth immediately. She's been absolutely lovely. Her support system helped us tremendously when we were crowdfunding, because we applied for grants and we tried to find funding other ways, and it's a subject matter that's not really hip and happening, and it's not really something that, you know, people are going to throw money at. And so we had to go the Seed and Spark way, and her fan base and her family and all of her supporters were absolutely lovely. And she is, thankfully, very obsessed with this film and is very happy with it and sings our praises, which makes it so much easier, because it was not an easy production. And of course, it's never going to be perfect, and there are things that you're like, I wish we could have done that differently, but she's been so supportive along the way.
Nice. That's great.
Yep, proceed.
I love the color treatment of your film a lot. How did you achieve that kind of vintage aesthetic? Was it in production, post-production?
Yeah, so I brought on, I'm a photographer, and so one of the reasons why I got hired as a director was because of my aesthetic as a photographer. And I didn't want to be the DP, because that's a whole thing. And so I knew I needed to find someone that had sort of my same style and same aesthetic, and that was Jonathan Pears. And we talked early on about making sure that it looked like 1960s film. What type of film? Is it Fuji? Is it Kodak? What is it? And so we came up with what's called a LUT, which is sort of like baked into the film while you're in production, so that you can at least sort of see what it's going to look like. And then from there, it looked pretty perfect, just how he lit it, and everything was beautiful on the day, the time of year, which was really hot and terrible, but looked beautiful and was actually authentic to the book as well. And so we had to do very little color correction in post. There was a few little tweaks, and there were a few times where he decided he wanted to change it a little bit, and I was like, nope, we talked about this is beautiful. And so that's how we got the color and the vintage vibes. A lot of it was polarizing filters, just to make sure that everything was very deep, and especially working with cars and, you know, glares on windshields and everything. But the other reason why I wanted to work with him is because he had a lot of experience working with automobiles and vehicles in general, and he just knew what he was doing, which was lovely.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Emily,
Thank
for your
you.
joining us.